nattokinase here. Folks, while I got this email. How the hell these politicians get so rich? How did they get so rich? I saw this clip of me last week with the long sleeve white shirt on. By the way, I didn't know everybody liked that shirt. I didn't even like the shirt. I said to Paula, I don't think the shirt looks good on me. Everybody seemed to like it in the chat. So, but I see this clip of me rolling around on X. I think MAGA Voice put it out there. Great account to follow on X. Asking this simple question. How the hell do these politicians get so rich? I'm serious. You all know some super talented people, correct? Yet most of us don't know a lot of rich people unless you're running in that circle. I mean, you got your doctors, your dentists, your lawyers, professional services, but, we don't typically know a lot of one percenters. How the hell did such mediocre people all get rich? It is all tied to this DOGE story. Folks, they are getting rich off of their connections and their ability to use this base of $4 or $5 trillion of your taxes to have it flush through people, family members and everyone else, the Hunter Bidens of the world, that are making them rich. Follow the money. Follow the money. That is why they are freaking out about the DOGE thing. This is a massive, massive story. It's not a one-day story. It's not a one-month story. This is like a 4-year story. I got that and a huge, huge security threat I cannot bring up enough to you. Please listen to me. I am laser focused on this thing. This is my biggest security concern, having been in this space for a long time. And a lot of people are worried about it. I'm not the only one. Big show today, a lot to talk about. Hey, the average person today is feeling the financial strain now more than ever. Expenses are up and wages aren't keeping pace. A lot of people are finding it almost impossible to make ends meet. With little left over after covering the basics, it's no surprise that many are resorting to credit cards just to get by, carrying really high balances and interest rates in the 20s or even 30s. If you are a homeowner and you're stuck in this cycle of mounting debt, call my friends at American Financing. They've been with us a long time. Their salary-based mortgage consultants are saving homeowners an average of $800 a month, helping you put your hard-earned money back where it belongs. Plus, if you act now, you might even be able to skip your next mortgage payment. There are no upfront fees, so it costs you nothing to find out how much you could save each month. It's time to break free from the stress of debt. Call American Financing today and take control of your financial future. 888-994-7660 is the number. That's 888-994-7660. Or visit them online. It's a .net address, not a .com. It's AmericanFinancing.net, AmericanFinancing.net. Check them out. NMLS 182334, NMLSConsumerAccess.org. All right, fellas, let's go. Hey, serious time right out of the gate. Folks, I got a security mind in me. It's just I've never been able to get that whole side of me away from the NYPD and my later job with the federal government. I've got this, you got to cover security A to Z. Now, I understand that the big security threats, street crime, A, B, C, the stuff that happens sadly every day across America are priorities. But we also have to think about what I'll call the Z threats. When you get to the end of the alphabet, these are things that are extremely unlikely black swan type scenarios. The problem is, although they're black swan scenarios, meaning the likelihood of them happening is small, the downside of them, the both direct and externalities problem, negative externalities caused them, are so dramatic. It's like a plane crash. Sadly, it's what you saw yesterday happen. The likelihood is low, but the effect on everyone is so dramatic, not just the people who died and are in it, but everyone else freaks out about the air business too. That's the externality. These black swan, we'll call them Z events, are so devastating, they can change America and the world. Folks, this drone threat, I hate to lose sleep at night stuff, but I'm telling you, if I ever lost sleep about anything, it's about this. This is a very real threat in population centers in America and around the world. I'm focused on America now. Times Square, Beverly Hills, areas where there are big, Chicago, the Miracle Mile, all these places where you're going to get a ton of media attention. I bring it up because Axios, which isn't my favorite outlet, obviously left-leaning, but they're not wrong with this is headline their morning email this morning. America's drone swarm crisis. Yes, 100%. They note, ask U.S. intelligence experts their biggest fears, and you'll inevitably hear dire warnings of drone swarms. We've been talking about this how long? Domestic or foreign, targeting American soil. Probe deeper, and you'll learn the vast majority of these drones are made by China and therefore conceivably controllable by America's greatest adversary. They know TikTok's accused of being a security threat, but at least they can't spy or drop bombs. I'm not a huge fan of Axios, but Mike Allen, who put this, is absolutely spot on. Folks, this is an enormous threat. Let me see. Folks in the chat, why? Why take a drink of water? Anyone know why I've said it 1,000 times? Why are drones such a unique threat? Let's see who gets it first. I love you guys in the chat, by the way. Drone swarm. Axios, not wrong for one, says MCS. Who says it here? Come on. Yes! Matthias Powerbomb again. The guy, man, you got some quick thumbs there. Because people can't fly, folks. This is not a complicated security threat to figure out. You get a special ops team on the ground and you sense a target in the wood line, you can clear the target. You can have a sniper engage the target. What the hell are you going to do with a drone? You need some way to target it in the air. Well, we can just shoot it down. You better hit it because bullets have this really funny way of obeying the laws of gravity and coming back down. This is a really difficult threat. I have been focused on like a laser on this, written books about this stuff. The drone threat is really scary. And if they're going to hit us, they're going to hit us in a population center. And we've got to be doing everything we can to mitigate as much as we can from this threat. I just throw that out there because, again, even left-wingers are focused on it. Now, let me get back to what I opened up the show with today. Folks, how are politicians getting so freaking rich? You know, again, I wrote a book on it, Follow the Money. I keep it on my desk because it always reminds me to follow the money. When you follow these money trails, there is a reason the left loves NGOs and non-governmental organizations and lobbyists. They love them because they can go and work there with these groups later on when they leave Congress or the Senate and make a lot of money, or these people can flush a lot of money into their campaigns. They can flush a lot of money into their family members. This is what happened with the whole Ukraine thing with Biden when he was vice president. These politicians are mediocrities at best. There's a reason they're in politics. The reason they're, not all of them, but the reason many of them are in politics is because they can't do anything else. So if they can't do anything else, how the hell are they making so much money? They are making it through government and government connections. I say that because I'm getting bombarded with questions from people. Maybe they're not listening to every show every day, which I understand. You have your own thing going on. But the gist of the question is this, and I wrote it down because I didn't want to lose my thought in the beginning of the show. Can you imagine being so out of touch with actual voters as a political party that you're fighting against fraudulent, wasteful, even potentially criminal government spending? Even Jim Carville, the Ragin' Cajun, a Democrat operative. Did you hear him this morning? I should get the cut, but Carville said on Ari Melber's show on MSNBC about fighting against the DOGE, what's the line he said? Don't just sit there, do nothing. Sounds like it's contradictory. He's telling them, stand down on the DOGE, Democrats. You look like assholes. You guys are fighting against what 50 to 60% of Americans see as a necessary kind of trimming of the government tree. Do you understand how out of touch they are? The reason they're out of touch is it's intentional. They're going to go broke. Follow the money. Their choices are go broke, which they don't want to do, or stand up for fighting government abuse. They don't want to do it. They're not going to go broke or stand down. And they're going to stand down and they're going to fight this thing. Here's what I mean. Here's Stephen Miller, a senior advisor, one of the chiefs of staff in the Donald Trump White House, a really good guy. Here is Stephen Miller on a Fox hit yesterday. I got two Stephen Miller cuts, one later on, but this one's important. They discovered a foreign fraud ring in our entitlement programs. Folks, even if you are not against government waste, and you love government waste, I should say, not to use a negative there to describe it. If you're for government waste, at least waste it here, right? If you're going to waste government money and piss it away in a toilet bowl, at least waste it on U.S. citizens. Nope. They found nobody cares on the left. Watch this.
As we know, there's a massive amount of fraud in this country. You have, for example, foreign fraud rings. These are foreign nationals who come into the United States. They use fake Social Security numbers. They use fake identities to steal billions in taxpayer benefits. There's no way to know until DOGE gains full access exactly how much money we're talking about. But over a 10-year normal budget window, you could be talking about saving over $1 trillion by clamping down on massive fraud in our tax and entitlement systems, including, again, those carried out by organized fraud and theft rings. A very important point in all this is to understand that DOGE are subordinate staffers of the federal government. They are political appointees, just like me, just like everyone else in the White House, that serve and answer to the president. So we're not talking about an outside private entity. We're talking about the existing federal staff of the federal government performing their statutory and constitutional duty.
Can you imagine fighting this? Folks, again, if you're a delusional liberal watching my show and you're not interested in government fraud because you're afraid it's going to, wrap up and dry up your gravy train, how is it that wouldn't you at least agree, like, if we're going to waste the money, at least waste it here? At least if it's fraudulently spent, it's spent in the United States. I don't want any fraud or criminality. I think that's fairly obvious. I think you sense my sarcasm, correct? However, foreign fraud rings. So if you are a huge supporter of Social Security and Medicare, I believe these programs that bankrupt themselves need to be reformed. We do have to protect our seniors. I get all of that. But still, how do you make the argument to America's seniors? You paid into a system. The system is going broke. Its own actuaries have told you that. It's going to be effectively out of IOUs in about 10 to 14, 15 years, right? You paid into it, and you're not going to get your money because people who didn't pay into it, fraudsters overseas, have stolen it? How are you? You really believe this is a political winner? The answer is it's a freaking gravy train for them. They don't care. This will be the end of the Democrat Party as you know it if they don't back off this. But they won't because they'll go broke. Carville's been around forever. He's warning them. This is a loser. I'm not even a fan of Carville. What's that? That's fine. I'll put up the Kyle Becker tweet too. Here's another one. How are you against this? Even if you're a liberal lunatic, how are you against this? Kyle Becker, shock. The U.S. Army's diverted over $151 million meant for soldiers' food, according to Military Times. What? There's apparently some food shortages on these bases, and there's some. I mean, how crazy do you have to be to not want to fix that? You've got soldiers who are making no money, sacrificing swearing to give their lives for you so we can sit around. Look at all these Fort Stewart, Fort Drum, Fort Carson, all this money. Look at the $22 million collected, $5 million spent on food in Fort Carson. Where the hell's the money going? How are you against this? I didn't even know there was a part 2 to that. Sorry, I said it wrong. How? I say it often to our law enforcement, our military people. This one directed at our military. We love you guys. Everybody give a salute to our military in the chat. The salute. You guys and ladies signed up to risk your actual lives, not hyperbolically. Your actual lives are at risk. And you do it. And we can't even feed you properly? And we don't know where the money is? If you're defending this, man, you should have listened to Carville. Oh, you haven't? Oh, cool. Here, this guy's a Democrat telling the other Democrats, hey, man, you better chill on this DOGE. Thank you for, look at that. Look at that. American flags in the chat. Amen, brothers and sisters. God bless America and all those who defend her. Here's Carville warning the Dems. Check this out.
This is not even what people voted for. Even if they are anti-Trump voters, they're calling out a lot of things that they say exceed the president's authority or are dangerous or are gutting of the federal government. What's happening here? What do you see?
What I see is something organic coming up from around the country. I don't think that there was a lot of organization. If you remember in 2017, you had like 1 million women on the mall. This is happening all around the country. So the question is, how should Democratic politicians respond to this? And what I think they should do is what we call in rural America, play possum. Just let it go. Don't get in the way of it. Or as we like to say, don't just stand there, do nothing.
Listen, I'm not a huge fan of Carville, obviously, but I like to understand the left. They don't want to understand us. That gives us an asymmetrical advantage in this political tactical warfare game. They don't understand us, but we understand them. Don't just stand there, do nothing. But they can't. You know, I saw, I was watching, I like to watch The Five, and Gutfeld's always great on the show. And Gutfeld feels the same way I do. Hey, we're not giving the Democrats advice. They're not taking it anyway. I'm just trying to explain to you so we have an information advantage over them why they're doing what they're doing. Because if you follow the money, they're getting rich off it. They would rather forfeit their political careers than lose their gravy train, which has been taxpayer dollars, because they have no real skills, folks. They can't actually do anything else. This is what a loser this is for them. Here he is again, Harry Enton on CNN, their pollster. We use him often because I don't want to be accused of political bias, right? Here's Harry Enton, CNN polling analyst, talking about how Trump's popularity since he started doing this has jumped, and the Democrats don't get it. This is your inaction, the Dan Bongino show your ass theory, where this small group of radical Democrats have hijacked the whole party. And in order to compete for donor dollars and interest group dollars, you have to constantly show your ass to people, which no one wants to see. Someone insults Trump, calls him a racist, you have to call him a Nazi fascist racist. Someone calls him a Nazi fascist racist, you have to call him a misogynistic, racist, murderer, serial killing, pedophile. You see how they have to up the ante to attract attention? That's why you're seeing this. Here's a show your ass theory in action. Check this out.
CBS News out with a new poll showing that Americans seem to be liking what they're seeing, but it's a mixed bag.
Yeah, I mean, look, but it's not just CBS. You know, I like to take an average of the polls. And holy smokes, I mean, look at what the difference is between now versus 8 years ago during the first Trump term, right? This is Trump's net approval rating on February 10th. You go back to 2017, Trump was already underwater at -5 points on the net approval rating. That's approval minus disapproval. What a difference 8 years makes. He's on the positive side of the ledger at +4 points.
I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. Dan, don't give them tactical advice. You think they're listening to me? They're not even listening to the pollster on CNN. You think they're not watching these segments? What do you think? They're watching Fox? They see it. They're never going to give up the gravy train. We need to hammer this home to persuadable Democrats, independents, and moderate Republicans who may have left the MAGA movement. Donald Trump is cleaning up a massive government fraud problem that Democrats and swampy Republicans have benefited from for years. I covered that yesterday. We have not given Republicans a pass. I covered that. Watch yesterday's show if you think I'm BSing you. I covered Wall Street Journal segments and other segments where some Republican lawmakers are like, hey, that cutting's great, but don't cut anything in my district. I saw someone, I liked the tweet, say today, they tweeted to their lawmaker, hey, Dan Bongino's right. Everybody is going to take a little bit of a kick in the stomach here. Everyone. There's going to be a weapons program in your district. There's going to be some NGO a friend of a friend may work for. Ladies and gentlemen, you want you want to be statesmen in the spirit of our revolutionary forefathers who gave up everything to fight the world's greatest empire at the time, the British Empire? We're just asking you to sacrifice for a little bit for the long-term prosperity of the United States. Now's the time. We are never going to be in a golden age of politics again like we are in the next year and 11 months now. We have 2 freaking years. We're all going to take it on the chin a little bit. Rich guys, poor guys, middle-class guys, someone's going to lose their tax cut. It is time to take it on the chin. We got to fix this thing now, not tomorrow. The other side is I'm going to play my other Stephen Miller clip because he's talking about he was on Fox again, how this is simply a basic anti-fraud review. We're not even into the real cuts yet. We're into fraud, wasteful spending, criminality. How are you on the other side of that? You're on the other side of it if you're getting rich off it. Remember, who loves crime? The criminals. Hey, the April 15 tax deadline's coming fast. You have unfiled tax returns, can't pay the IRS. The IRS is more aggressive than ever, and the longer you wait, the worse it gets. Wage garnishments, bank levies, even property seizures are on the table. You need to get ahead of it. But going up against the IRS alone is a mistake. Call the experts at Tax Network USA. They know the system. They have an edge as well, a preferred direct line to the IRS. They know the agents to work with and who to avoid. Whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, their genius strategies are designed to quickly settle your tax problems in your favor. Tax Network USA's attorneys and negotiators have already resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. Tax Network USA can help you too, but you need to move fast. April 15th is almost here. Talk with one of their strategists today with no obligation. Stop looking over your shoulder and put your tax problems behind you. Call Tax Network USA at 1-800-958-1000. That's 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Dan. Thanks, Tech and Tax Network. Okay, back to the show. The only people who love crime are the freaking criminals because that's where they make their money from the crime because they can't do anything else. Sounds like a lot of our corrupt politicians. Here's Stephen Miller again. You really want to be on the wrong side of this? Take James Carville's advice, Democrats. I know you won't, but don't just stand there and do nothing. Check this out.
We are talking about performing a basic anti-fraud review to ensure that people are not engaging in large-scale theft of federal taxpayer benefits. I mean, for example, we pay billions of dollars a year in child tax credit payments to illegal aliens. Billions with a B. So these are systematic, programmatic reforms that we're talking about here.
Okay, I'm about to blow your minds with a segment. Maybe a little dramatic. I don't want to be over the top and hyperbolic. I hate exaggeration for effect. However, this is a segment that has fascinated me forever because I'm going to prove to you that cutting government criminal fraud, waste, garbage, junk payments, overspending, missing account transactions, missing payment fields, this is so unbelievably popular that even people you think would support excessive government spending, Democrats, no. They're liberals, yes. Radical Democrats, yes. There is a huge chunk of the Democrat Party. I'm being too verbose. We can steal a bunch of Democrat votes if we win this argument. I know that sounds crazy, and I promise I'm about to back up what I say with receipts. Opinions are bullshit. All that matters is receipts. I'm going to back it up for you right now. Donald Trump, if he continues with Elon and for 4 years cleans out this government mess and saves a couple $1 trillion over 4 years or more, he is going to steal a huge chunk of Democrat voters and could leave office one of the most popular presidents in modern times. Could. Okay, back it up. Big claims like that require what? That's right, folks in the chat. Big evidence. So here it is. You ever wonder why Bill Clinton, obviously a Democrat, left office at close to 60% approval? Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Clinton, there was actual biological evidence of him committing sex acts in the Oval Office. It's not funny, but Bill Clinton, didn't he lose his law license? I mean, Bill Clinton is on video. You can play right now. I did not have sexual relations with that woman. And then, a year later, had sexual, I'm sorry. Bill Clinton left office, look it up, with high 50s, low 60% approval. Do you have any idea how high that is? In a country that's basically 50-50, meaning a lot of Republicans liked what Bill Clinton did, a good chunk of them, and a whole ton of Democrats did. How is that? Bill Clinton, between Rose Law Firm, Whitewater, you know how many scandals him and Hillary had? Hillary Care blows up. Why did he leave office? I'm going to tell you why right now, and I'm going to put the numbers to back it up. Here is Bill Clinton in his own words talking about how important it is to make government more efficient and cut the fat. Bill Clinton, the Democrat. Check this out.
First, I am ordering a reduction of the federal bureaucracy by at least 100,000 positions over the next 4 years. At least 10% of these cuts must come from senior management. These cuts will make our government more efficient and more effective. The government is full of dedicated people whose hard work is being choked off by our own bureaucracy. Second, I'm ordering each federal department and agency to reduce its administrative as opposed to its program cost by 12% over the next 4 years. With better planning and innovation, we can make better use of the money we already have. In many agencies, overhead is too high, red tape is too thick, and the day-to-day operations of the agencies have not been re-examined in a very long time.
Folks, this guy engaged in a sex act with an intern and lied about it under oath in the Oval Office, and he left office with 60% approval. Why? Why? Well, I'm going to attribute this to Bill Clinton's efforts. Let's be clear. Let's be absolutely clear so there's no misinterpretation. Bill Clinton was a Democrat and will always spend like a Democrat. Newt Gingrich and the Republican Congress pushed him into some spending controls. But to be fair to history, Bill Clinton signed the budgets and it happened. We're not going to lie about stuff like the Democrats. The Democrats used to celebrate the mythical Clinton surplus too. Here is a Democrat congressman from Colorado, Michael Bennet. I say the mythical Clinton surplus because you've heard it 1,000 times, right? That Bill Clinton ran a government surplus. I'll get to that in a second. But Democrats used to realize that people don't want governments going into piles of red ink. Here's a Colorado, these are quick, Colorado Democrat. Again, celebrating the Clinton surplus. Check this out.
I want to paint a very brief history for you because I think it's worth remembering this contextually. When Bill Clinton, a Democrat, left the presidency, he left behind a surplus.
Okay, he didn't leave behind a surplus, but you see what I'm trying to get at here? The Democrats are not stupid. They fully understand that the very rational, reasonable, educated American voter is not interested in endless piles of government red ink, so much so that Democrat, Michael Bennet, is celebrating that Bill Clinton ran this mythical surplus. Here's Margaret Hoover, a pretty mainstream Republican. She's doing an interview with Robert Reich. We don't need to hear from him. But here she is, too. You know, again, not some far-right MAGA person or whatever like that. Not that that's even a fair characterization, but you get the point. Talking about the mythical Clinton surplus. Check this out.
You served in the Clinton administration, which, of course, was the last administration, with the help of a Republican Congress, to achieve this historic budget surplus.
Okay, there was no Clinton surplus. So I'm going to make 2 points for you. It seem contradictory here, but they aren't. The first one, a Democrat, Bill Clinton, left office with unbelievable approval ratings despite a multitude of scandals. I'm telling you because of his efforts to trim government, which led to a pretty decent growth rate while he was in office. Point number one. In other words, if Donald Trump does the same thing, we can steal some of those Democrat voters and carry that over, hopefully into a Don Trump Jr., Eric Trump, or J.D. Vance presidency next. We can steal so many Democrat voters on the spending issue. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. They used to run on this. And the second point I'm going to make is the Clinton surplus is a myth. And I don't want you to fall for it. It is yes, government spending was much lower, no doubt about it. Newt Gingrich and Clinton did a decent job on that. There was never a surplus. I'm going to prove it to you coming up next because there's not a single topic out there that ticks me off more than people who make up the Clinton surplus. There's no such thing if you actually understand how numbers work. He did not run a surplus. I'll make that quick, and then I got a lot more to get to because they may be permanently out to pasture, folks. That what they are doing on the media appearances is just a disaster. Hey, Blackout Coffee. Time to be awake, not woke. We love Blackout Coffee. It is an America First company. They make bold, never bitter coffee using premium beans that ship fresh within 48 hours of roasting when you order online. You believe that? They honor and take care of their customers, and they love America. The coffee's delicious. They have a cinnamon French toast flavor that is just to die for. You know what I do with it sometimes? I make a little bit of it, like a half a cup, and I pour it in a protein shake. It's that good. Okay. Most people don't even know what premium coffee tastes like because we're used to these woke mega corporations pushing these crap beans on us. Don't. I'm proud to personally recommend Blackout Coffee, the official coffee of Bongino Army. Skip those long lines, order online. Do me a favor, go to blackoutcoffee.com/Bongino and see what I'm talking about. They're the real deal. That's blackoutcoffee.com/Bongino, or use coupon code Bongino for 20% off your order. Make the switch to Blackout Coffee. You're going to love it. And our last sponsor today is, and I'll get back to the Clinton, so I'm going to do you guys a huge favor. There we go. Birch Gold. Have you seen the news from some economists forecasting a depression, not a recession, by 2030? We could be in the perfect storm if Social Security and Medicare hit a breaking point with the largest generation hitting retirement. Smaller workforce usually means a smaller tax base. Pair that with our growing national debt and rising cost of living, and we could have a big problem. So what are you doing now to help protect your family for the future? Gold's been a safe haven asset in hard economic times. Birch Gold makes it really easy to diversify a portion of your savings into physical gold. That's what I did. Birch Gold will help you transition an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. Help protect your future today. Text Dan to 989898. Get your free info kit on gold and a copy of the ultimate guide for gold in the Trump era with a foreword by Don Trump Jr. There's no obligation, only information. Scroll down for me, guys. I buy my gold from Birch Gold. You can trust them too. So text my name, Dan, to the number 989898 today. Again, text my name, Dan, to the number 989898 today. Message and data rates apply. Thank you, Birch Gold. Always good to have you on board. Okay, just quickly before I move on to my segment here about more disgraceful Democrat media lies and our efforts to dismantle them. So in the Dan Bongino Show, you have the truth. This is one of the biggest but most persistent lies in politics. Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich did a decent job on spending. Period, full stop. That's not open for debate. There's a great article. I cannot recommend this article in strong enough terms. I used to put this in the show notes 4 or 5 times a week. You want it? Go to my newsletter, Bongino.com/newsletter. Sign up. It's free. It's going to be linked there. Just go today and do it and save this article. It's called The Myth of the Clinton Surplus. The article's from almost 20 years ago. It's by this guy, Craig Steiner, but it is worth your time. There was no Clinton surplus. You can read the whole article, but you don't need to. All you need to do is look at this data from the government itself. You will notice every single year of the Clinton presidency from 93 to 2000 that the government ran a deficit. $281 billion, $281 billion, $250 billion, $188 billion, $113 billion, $130 billion, $17.9 billion. So if that's every single year of the Bill Clinton presidency, So if the government ran a deficit every year, a deficit means they didn't have enough money, which is the opposite of a surplus. Is anything I'm saying confusing to the libs? They got close in 2000 where they only ran a basically $18 billion deficit. There was never a surplus. So, Dan, why do they keep talking about a surplus? Because of Social Security and Medicare funds that were basically stolen. Read the article. There was never a surplus. If there was a surplus, the freaking deficit would have gone down and would have been a surplus. No year of the Clinton presidency was there a surplus. There was a deficit every single time. They were small. Good for them. It's not real. Don't fall for it. Don't be a sucker. Read this guy's article. However, they did do a decent job. 2000, they did almost balance the budget, which is insane. That's pretty good. We get back there, Donald Trump will leave office with 60% approval. Folks, the Dems they're going to be permanently out to pasture if they continue to fight on this. You understand that lies and BS is the only thing they have to stop this gravy train? They have to follow and keep the money trail going because they're getting rich off it. So what they're going to do is they're going to keep making up a litany of fake stories. You guys are the media now. You've gotten so good at debunking this stuff that they're not even focusing on yesterday's BS story. They're just moving on to another one, kind of throwing crap at a wall and seeing what sticks now. You've got to be quick, though. You got to clean it off quick and get moving. Here's what I mean. Here's disgraced vice presidential candidate for Hillary Clinton, Tim Kaine, senator from Virginia. Guy's got his own issues from what I heard, if you watch my story from a couple weeks ago. Just making up a story completely about the DOGE classified information as if there's been some law broken or something like this. This is just a total fabrication. Check this out.
Yesterday, the DOGE guys post classified information on their website, and they had to realize, we didn't realize that agency was a classified agency. You shouldn't let people run rampage through offices that have classified information.
Okay, he's just making that up, folks. He's making that up. Katie Miller, who knows all about this is a blatant lie, deliberate misinformation. The information on Doge.gov is sourced from longstanding public OPM data on their website. It's even annotated on the Doge website. This is why Americans don't trust the media. Folks, they lie to you all the time. The lying has gotten so bad that now they've resorted to owning themselves in their own clips in an effort to stop people like me, Mike Benz, Tucker, and others, Shapiro, Levin, from exposing what Elon's exposing in this Doge. There's this positive feedback loop now where we get this information and run with it every day that we never had before. Levin and I have been doing radio a long time. We don't have access to government systems. Finally, Donald Trump running the executive branch, like, we're going to clean this up and show you what's under the rock. And it's all ugly. This is hilarious. This is one of the dopiest people in the media, this Brandy Zadrozny. She is the Taylor Lorenz of NBC. I mean, a woman who has made a career out of face planting. She seems to genuinely hate when conservatives best her on a story. So she doesn't like the fact that Mike Benz has 20 times the audience and is exposing this USAID thing. So this is a great one. She face plants in her own video. It's like, well, listen, Mike Benz claiming that media is like profiting off this. And then she goes on to show how the media is profiting off this in her own video. Check this out.
Now, neither Musk nor Benz has offered any tangible evidence of the crimes they say USAID committed, and they didn't respond to my requests for comment. But a lot of their posts include misleading claims or outright falsehoods that can be easily debunked, like accusations that USAID was funding news agencies like Politico. Government records show agencies across the federal government were actually paying for premium subscriptions.
Hey, folks in the chat here, am I missing something? They claim these companies are profiting from the federal government, and they show evidence that these companies are profiting from the federal government. Now, listen, last time I checked, I'm reasonably sure you guys are pretty deep into the business of Bonginoing. Have you seen a slush fund of money coming in from the government for Dan Bongino local subscriptions? Have you seen? Cause I haven't seen it. Yeah, we all wish. Yeah, it'd be great if people were subscribing to our stuff. I don't want government. I don't want anything. I just want people. This is right. Yeah, like I said, are the rubles coming in? Like, I mean, what is going on? Like, we don't get any money from any of these people. But left-wingers do. You see how bad it is that Brandy, who's so dumb, she doesn't even realize she just self-owned and face-planted in her own video? These people make money by subscriptions. They're not selling gizmos or Ren and Stimpy dolls. They're selling news subscriptions, which the government is buying. You just made his point in your own video. Did you miss that? It's not profiting because they still lose money. Right, yeah, it's true. These media people, even with the subs, still lose. That's how bad their product is. Folks, we are on the right side of this argument. It is a huge political winner. And I told you that the lawfare was definitely going to backfire. The lawfare is going to cause two significant problems for the left. In other words, the constant litany of lawsuits. They're not listening to Carville. They are doubling down. And it's going to cost them a ton of time and a ton of money in the courts, while it doesn't cost Donald Trump anything. Donald Trump is paid to sign executive orders, manage our military, and execute on the executive branch. That's what he's paid to do. That's why you never relinquish power. You relinquish power. I hear this all the time from conservatives. Maybe we lead to lose an election badly and people wake up. Maybe not. That is a really, really dumb idea if you never relinquish power. Because power, you get paid to enact the power you've been constitutionally delegated with. The left doesn't get paid to do that. They are wasting a ton of money and time on lawsuits. Not only are they wasting a ton of money on time, factor number two is they are going to lose a lot of these lawsuits, and there's going to be legal precedent for there already is. It's called the Constitution. But in our broken court system, it's going to be reestablished. Here's what I mean. This was outnumbered yesterday. During the show, another big L for the left on the DOGE. Check this out.
A federal judge has just declined to issue an order halting Elon Musk and DOGE from accessing federal data and slashing personnel.
Folks, I told you, don't freak out over the lawsuits. I wish we did not have a weaponized judicial system where left-wing groups and NGOs work with liberal judges and forum shop to attack us using a judicial branch acting as a legislative and executive branch. I wish that weren't the case, but that's not the world we live in, ladies and gentlemen. I live in the realpolitik world. The world we live in, systems break all the time. We fix them by keeping Republicans in power and nominating judges that actually do judicial work and follow their Article 3 responsibilities. That's how we win. I'm a game plan guy. I'm a spreadsheets guy. I want a freaking game plan. I don't want to hear about emotions all the time. Oh, this sucks. I know it sucks. A lot of things suck. How do we fix it? Sucks you make an error at shortstop and throw the ball away. You still got to field the next ground ball and get the guy out. I'm glad we've been ahead of this stuff, all of us. And you guys are starting to sense it too, that the left is really imploding here to the point where their own political analysts, guys like Carville, are starting to warn them, this is not working out as intended. We have to stay focused, though. And another thing we spoke about over the last few weeks is don't get sucked into this social media vortex of overreacting to everything Donald Trump does, because you're going to find yourself getting kicked in the jimmy a lot. Because not everything Donald Trump does is supposed to be taken at its face. I don't want to say that don't take him seriously, don't take him literally, because sometimes you should. But it's more the crazy man theory of politics, that nobody knows what Donald Trump is going to do. And that's actually a tactical benefit. Here's what I mean. The Trump doctrine is starting to make sense now. The Trump doctrine is this, especially on foreign policy, although it applies domestically too, but this is a foreign policy segment. It's important. This involves NATO, so pay attention. This is super important. Take a maximalist position, a position you know you're not going to get. Make Canada the 51st state. We need to annex Greenland. Take a maximalist position of 100. Sorry if you've heard this before, but it's important. No one else has even taken a 0 position in the past, but they're willing to accept the 10 position. The 10 position is an enhanced military. Let's use Greenland. Maybe we need to enhance our military cooperation with Greenland and our ISR surveillance capabilities on Greenland. That's maybe a 10. Donald Trump goes to 100. Let's annex Greenland, make it the 51st state or a U.S. territory. Donald Trump likely has 10 on his mind anyway, not 100, but he knows if he says 10, it's largely going to be ignored. So he takes a maximalist position, and it looks like he's a deal maker if he gets 10, and he looks like he was willing to cooperate. And look, he dialed it down. It's a genius thing. I'd sum this up better by the Donald Trump doctrine is, in foreign policy, fix it or daddy's going to fix it for you. Middle East, Gaza, Greenland, fix it or big daddy's coming in. That's kind of the Trump doctrine. You getting it? It happened again. Called it. He did the exact same thing with NATO. NATO's been, folks, let's be candid. They're screwing around. NATO is not doing what they should be doing. They keep talking about the Russia threat in Ukraine, which is obviously real. The Ukrainians are living it every day. But the Russian-Ukrainian issue is a continental issue across an ocean from us. Not that we're not interested or it doesn't involve us. It does. But it's right in their backyard. And NATO is already flip-flopping some of the NATO countries, Germany included, on military spending. So Donald Trump comes out and says, okay, we're going to negotiate with the Russians on a peace deal. And by the way, Europe, you're not even at the table. So what happened? Here is the NATO chief, Michael Root, on Martha McCallum's show yesterday. You would think he would come out, right? If you're one of the suckers who don't understand the Trump doctrine, You would, what's that? Mark Rude. You would think he would come out and say, double middle finger to Donald Trump. How dare you condemn us like that? That's not exactly what happened. Check this out.
We've seen some of these headlines coming out from leaders from Poland, basically saying that they understand that the situation is very different now. Europe absolutely must step up to the table in terms of expenditures. What is your take on these talks between the United States and Russia and Europe being excluded?
Well, this meeting was really very successful. What you see today, we had General Kellogg, President Trump's special representative at NATO this morning with the ambassadors, and now we had this meeting here in Paris with many European leaders, and really Europe is now stepping up. Last week, I was a bit disappointed that Europeans were saying, hey, we also have to be at the table, and why are we not there? And they're now really starting to dialogue, to strategize how they can support the peace effort. And that is important because we know that post a peace deal, there will be the need to make that peace deal lasting, enduring. And that means we need security guarantees.
Can you guys screenshot the Chiron from that? NATO, in case you're listening on Apple or Spotify and missing the visuals, this was on obviously Fox. It's Martha McCallum. NATO allies agree to bump up spending. How many times are these left-wing media lunatics going to fall in this trap with the Trump doctrine? Fix it, or Big Daddy's going to fix it for you. Either you guys start protecting your own continent, regional, geographic area, and we'll support you in that effort in a satellite or secondary role. We're not going to put our own troops on the ground. But we're not doing anything until you clean up the free speech situation. There it is. NATO allies agree to step up in defense spending. And you actually support your own military. Liberal lunatics who hate Trump out there. Can you please explain to me what he said there, Donald Trump, that was in any way out of line? And tell me what, you disagree with the response? You don't want NATO to spend more? Folks, we've fallen into this rut of politics, and I've seen it 1,000 times. Republicans and Democrats both do it. Where the left-wing media obviously has an agenda. I don't want to beat the media up to death after this segment because I got a lot more to get to here. But a Republican in the past takes a position. We need to fix Social Security. It's broken. They know what they're saying is true. The media responds and the left responds with some ad of grandma getting rolled off the cliff. And the Republicans, even though they knew it was going to happen, back down anyway, instead of going out and doing the responsible thing and making the case to the American public. Donald Trump, I told you I supported him precisely because he was in his second term. A lot of people hit me. A lot of people who supported Nikki Haley and others. Dan, he's going to be a lame duck. This is a lame duck? If this is a lame duck, give me more lame duckery. He's not a lame duck at all. He's a guy who is run out of F's to give. He doesn't care what the media says. He is engaging in maximalist Trump doctrine, politicking, and it's working. Fix it now, or Big Daddy's coming in to fix it for you, and you ain't going to like it. And shocker, NATO agrees to spend more money. Folks, this has caused a total meltdown by these idiots on the other side. They don't know what to do. The endless litany of fake news, misinformation, and disinformation has them grasping, just seconds after a tragedy, for talking points so hysterically stupid, you wonder how these people like Margaret Brennan and others are seriously kept on the air. It happened again yesterday. It was a really awful plane crash up in Toronto, which was awful no matter where it happens, of course. But for the lefties listening, that is not in the United States. I'm not sure they're aware of that. They thought because they had a baseball team, the Blue Jays, it was in the United States. It is not. Michael checked. Yes, he's correct. It is in Canada. That is not the United States. Donald Trump may make it there, will want to make it there, but it is not right now. It is still a separate country. It is not an FAA country that, well, they may follow it. You get the point. The Federal Aviation Administration is a U.S. entity. So plane crashes, within minutes of this thing happening, media people start to go nuts. Here is NBC's Tom Costello, really demanding why, I should say, showing you why, however much you can't stand the media, it's not enough. He manages to blame the United States and Donald Trump. It's insane. This is what they've resorted to. Check this out.
In terms of the recent string of aviation incidents, Tom, this is going to yet again raise the concern about FAA staffing, air traffic control staffing. Now, this is a Canadian air traffic control tower, and this is under Canadian authority once it crosses the border. And yet, as you know, there has been this talk about maybe staff cuts at the FAA as a part of President Trump's effort to trim down the federal workforce.
8.
Folks, the Canada doesn't. FAA is a U.S. government enterprise. Canada is not in the United States. The great irony of this is big government bureaucrats have been fighting FAA reform the entire time. The Canadians use a better system with buy-in from the airlines where it's a participator paid for enterprise. And they still had an accident that was likely weather related, maybe pilot error. We don't know. I don't care to speculate. The Bongino rule's in effect. Do you understand how these people like the Brandys, the Drosnys, and others, they're engaging in Fugazi-like insanity, and they're just burning whatever shred of credibility they had left? Here's Caroline Leavitt, our excellent press secretary, just dismantling this Tara Kopp. Tara Kopp, FAA News. FAA staff fired over the weekend, including personnel that worked radar, landing, and navigational aid maintenance. Hundreds were fired just weeks after a midair collision. One employee even said they were harassed on Facebook by the DOGE. You were? That's interesting. Caroline Leavitt notes, more fake news from the AP. DOGE doesn't even have a Facebook. DOGE doesn't even have a Facebook page. No air traffic controllers, nor any professionals who perform safety or critical functions were terminated. Listen to me. Tim Kaine, Brandy Zadrozny, Tara Kopp, others, whoever they are. Folks, this is not going to stop. You are the media now. It is up to you to be the little Paul and Paulette Reveres for Caroline Leavitt in the White House. She can't do it all herself. You guys have significant followings on Twitter. If you have 1,000 followers, 500 followers, folks, that is a lot of people. You have any idea how hard it is to get 500 people in a room? My gosh, I mean, when I first started doing book signings 10 years ago, you got 100 people was a big deal. 500 people is a lot of people. You need to be the news now. You are the news. You need to combat crazy stuff. And of course, in honor of the legend for all the wrong reasons, Frank Fugazi, of course, Fugazi had to get in the mix as well. What is this? Is this a video or? This is a Gee special, folks. I just want to throw this in there. These guys, him and Jim and the team, they did not want to exit today without us pushing. I haven't seen this without us pushing a Fugazi. So let me see what he's got. And this is going to be a live reaction.
With regard to this statement, which again, we shall not believe Reince Priebus when he says, don't worry, that someone who saves his country cannot violate a law. Okay, it's been attributed by some historians who aren't certain to Napoleon, but I'll tell you where it's definitely been used far more recently, and that's with a white supremacist, far-right extremist named Anders Breivik in Norway, who killed 77 people in Norway, the worst modern mass murder in Norwegian history. 8-8.
Again, folks, whenever you think you've hit the ceiling of potential insanity on the level of the Fugazis blowing up in you guys crack me up on the chat, folks. Listen, it is, I think you might, did you guys just like melt that thing? My gosh. This is what you're going to get forward. I have a real plea for you, and I need you guys to digest all this, take it in, and rock and roll with this, okay? You're the media now. Do not play down whatsoever your audience. Your audience is real. Between Facebook, between TikTok, between Twitter, and between True Social, Rumble, and your other accounts, you have the ability to fight back against this endless litany of bull.